Jim, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Claude.
Almost here, December. What are we going to do today? Going to cut a tree.
We're out at Dermody Road at Janet Murray's house, and we're gonna. That tree on her front lawn was selected as a Vermont State Christmas tree, and it'll go to the Capitol building in Montpelier, and we're gonna watch the cutting of that today and have some Christmas entertainment. The weather isn't very Christmassy right now, but the Sacred Heart School chorus and band are gonna make it a little bit more Christmassy feeling. And we've got a lot of people here today. Very important person is Clyde Burgess from Burgess Brothers, and he's donated his crane and expertise to instead of having the tree fall down, it'll be lifted up. Clyde's as good as anybody in the world on a crane, and so it'll be fun to watch somebody that knows what they're doing do it well. And we have
what kind of tree is it this year?
It's a Colorado blue spruce, and Janet and her husband Ernest planted it in 1978, I believe, on the front lawn of their house, and it was a nice little tree, and it's gotten bigger and bigger, and right now it's 31 feet high and kind of pushing up against the house and everything, and so she found a good home for it.
Well, and then you're going to follow up on it. You'll be in Montpelier.
I'm going to be the cameraman up in Montpelier again, yep, trying to learn how to following Al Chicote's footsteps of being a cameraman. Pretty tough act to follow. Yeah.
And then we're going to meet, or maybe you're not, but I'm to meet with Jennifer Kimberly again.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some
soils and geology and of the area.
If we didn't have soils, we wouldn't have the trees.
That's good, yeah. The basis for all life, I guess, right?
Okay.
So it'll be a good show.
Well, we got a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
We better get out.
Okay, let's watch these guys cut this tree up.
Thank you all for coming out on this lovely morning. The band is getting set up now. This is the Sacred Heart Middle School Band and Chorus, and they'll be playing some tunes and then singing some songs, and you're all welcome to join in. Now, Clyde Burgess is up there in his pit, and I know he'll be leading some of the songs himself. Thank you, Clyde. The band, we're here to take this lovely tree, which was planted by the Henrys in by the Murrays. And without further ado, here's Mrs. Funk. Could you tell us what about the tree?
We planted it in '78. We planted two. One survived and one didn't. That's the one that survived. And I'm donating it to my husband.
Okay, you heard the story. The one that didn't survive is not going to Montpelier, but this one will.
How long will it survive after that?
The tree is being, this whole thing was put together by the Vermont and New Hampshire Christmas Tree Growers Association, and Jim Hurst is here now. He's their president, and he was instrumental in helping pick this one out. And it's going to be taken to Montpelier by the Vermont Department of Parks and Recreation. And those are the three folks here with the big truck. Apparently they go out every Monday somewhere in the state of Vermont and pick out a tree. As long as you legislators are here, you might want to know about that. Is the band ready? I see town manager Stu Hurd is here. Stu, you're always around Christmas trees doing something. Would you want to say some words, sir?
No, thanks, Mike. You're doing a fine job.
Several of our elected officials are also here. Representative Al Krozik, right here. Representative Dick Pembroke. And somebody hiding down there. Jim Colvin, Representative Colvin. How are you, sir? anyone who's going to be in Montpelier on Wednesday, this tree will be decorated at that time on the lawn of the state capitol. And the Bennington Special Olympics team will be up there, and they'll be hanging the decorations on the tree and also having a tour of the capitol. And Mrs. Murray and her family are going to be there, so that'll be this Wednesday at 4 o'clock in Montpelier. And of course, next Monday we'll be back here getting another tree.
Shining bright on a manger below.
Thank you very much, students. We're going to go, I guess, right into cutting the tree. We have the donated services of Clyde Burgess and his crane, and you'll be able to watch him bring up the tree and place it on a dime. There's some controversy as to the height of the tree. It's either 27 or 35 feet tall, but since nobody can measure tall, we're going to put it down and measure length. This is a state-approved lottery we have here, so Jim Carvin, you'll be collecting the bets. Let's go.
We're going to attempt to get that down on the ground without any broken branches. This makes, I don't know, 8th or 9th we've done in the last few years, so we've had a little bit of experience, but not necessarily with blue spruce. And blue spruce, when it's cold, you would break branches. Today it's in our favor because of the weather's decent day to move a tree. So we're going to try to get that down in one piece and load it on that truck and head north a little later in the day. So I work for us in parks. We've been with them 30 plus years. So we've done this a few times, but like I said earlier, not with a blue spruce. So it's going to be a challenge, I think, but I think we'll do all right. So.
And you are?
I'm Pete Reed, LD Essex office, and I've got my cohorts with me, and it takes usually two of us to do this. Somebody else has got some knowledge of doing something like that, so we'll get her down and we'll get her loaded.
Al says, well, who picked this tree out? And I said, that lady over there in the green coat. And I said, the lady in the blue coat planted it.
Right.
Right?
Well, actually, Janet said they gotta find somebody to shake the tree. She wanted the tree down because she needed more light, and she was afraid it might fall on her house someday. So I said, well, don't just cut it down and not do anything. Chop it up for fireworks and donate it to somebody. So we suggested she call Jim White.
That's why we're all
Our
here.
favorite forester, yes. That's why we're here. Beautiful tree.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
We're here, right in front of the tree about to be cut down by a guy with a chainsaw. That's the forest.
tree over there. Cool. I think I'm almost there. Find something fun. Can't wait.
What's that? I'm telling you, this weather, boy, so warm out. I'm telling you, I'm not quite too sure what time it is, but it just seems like I just fell asleep yesterday, and here it's all warm again, and I'm supposed to be hibernating. And what kind of weather is this? I mean, it's supposed to be midwinter, and here it is. I mean, I think I'm awake. Whatever that noise was that woke me up. Maybe I ought to crawl out of my little makeshift den here and go see what's going on. Well, I'll stretch out a little bit. There's that fox again. I'll just never understand. I mean, here it is. It's like summer out, weather-wise, but there's all this white stuff, all that snow on the ground again. Oh, I think I heard that noise, and I'm just sort of curious as who'd be walking around on a nice winter day like today. Oh, I am so confused. I just don't know. Well, let's see. I think the sound came off from down over that way. So I think we'll go down and look, see what I might find. Who knows? Well, let's see. I could have sworn I heard something coming down through this way, and it seemed to be muttering about who knows what. Let's see. Oh, look! There's some tracks. What? Oh, I bet those are woozle tracks. Well, let's see. They go around this way. I'll just keep following them around that way. Let's see. Yep, there's that fox again. Oh, there's that woozle. Let's see. Yeah, the woozle must have come around. It got to be woozle. What else would it be? Oh, I know that woozle's around here somewhere, because I can see his tracks. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, coming around this way. And there he comes. Well, let's see. Right. It's around this way somewhere. Okay. Well, you know, I sort of lost track. I'm going to go back and take a look at the woozle, the tracks over this way. Go back to where I just came from and see if there might be more than one of them. Well, there are. There's another set of woozle tracks. Oh, I knew it. There are two woozles. Oh, boy. Yeah, I can see them. I can almost hear them. Those woozles, I'm telling you. Whoa. Let's see. Yeah, that woozle came right around this way. He sure did. He's around here somewhere, I can tell. I must be getting closer to him. Yep. Whoa, look at that. There's two of them. No, there's three. There was two before, and now there's three of them. Oh, I just don't know. Boy, must be a party of woozles out here. Those old woozles are around. I can see their tracks. They're all over the place here. I found three of them up there, and now they seem to be going around this big tree here. Well, I'll just keep on looking. I'll find those woozles. I think I hear them. Well, maybe that's me. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going around this tree. Let's see. We're coming around. Let's see. Where's those woozles? Gotta go this little bit. There we go. Oh, we're out. We're the back of this tree. This is a big tree.
Seems like been walking forever. Holy cow. I'm telling you. Wow, there's a track. Man, look at that. That's a big track. Maybe I won't need my food after all. Okay, and then go here. All the way around. Yeah, I might be onto something here. Nobody else around? I wonder where this came from. This place. Here. Maybe it's a big bear. Big one.
I don't see anything, but I could have sworn I heard something. Did you hear something also? I thought you did. Yeah, I did too.
I just heard something. But I don't see anything. This is so odd.
There was nothing on this side. Huh. I could have sworn I heard something over on this side, but I don't see anything on this side.
Oh, there's nothing over here. Well, I heard something.
Oh, that's strange. There's nothing over here.
Wow. All this noise and nothing on this side either.
Here, I could have sworn I saw something, heard something. Not here, though. Huh, I could have sworn I saw something and I heard something. What do you think, dog? Huh? Yeah, I know. My head got sort of heavy, too.
I'll find something here eventually. I know I will.
I hear something. I hear a... Hey! Hello, what's that? Who are you? Why, you must have been the noise that I heard. I bet you're the noise I heard. And...
Oh my goodness.
What? Who are you?
You talk.
Well, of course I talk. You talk. So why shouldn't I talk?
Oh my goodness, I better take my hand off the trigger. I was bear hunting.
You are what? Bear hunting? It's not bear season. Who are you?
No,
And what are you doing around here anyway, looking for bear this time of year? And what do you got in that sack? Are there any goodies in that sack? I like goodies, you know.
Well, I was just heading up to a cabin up here in the mountains that I got from Mother Merrick, and so...
Who? Mother Merrick? That's my friend. What do you mean you got her cabin? Huh?
You know Mother Merrick?
Well, Mother Merrick is one of my best buddies, yeah, and I haven't seen her for a while. And she went on vacation, that's all I know, and she sold her place and you bought it?
Yeah, I'm Virginia Aurora Chevet.
Huh? Who?
Virginia Aurora Chevet.
Say it one more time.
Virginia Aurora Chevet.
I tell you what, I'll never remember that. And if you're going to be up here with Mother Merrick, and this is Merrick Mountain and Forest and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to call you Mother Merrick too. Yeah, I'll remember that. I'll never remember that whatever.
Virginia Aurora Chevet. But you can call me Mother Merrick. That's okay.
And your friends can call you that other stuff.
Okay.
What do you got in that bag? Oh, that bag looks like it's got some goodies in it.
I was actually just going up there to have lunch, and...
Oh, I thought... Yeah, I can smell it. There's got to be some good stuff in there. Yeah, some good stuff.
Well...
I like grubs and stuff, you know. What do you got in there, huh? And my dog likes this stuff, too.
I have roadkill possum parts.
Ooh, that was tasty.
You eat possum parts?
Well, would be the first time, that's for sure.
Mugu mushrooms. They're really, really good.
Mugu mushrooms? Yeah, I like mushrooms. Mushrooms grow all over around here at a certain time of the year, but I don't know that they're mugu. They taste pretty good, though.
Cool. Well, I don't actually have any grubs, but what about snails?
Oh, snails would work. They're close to grubs, though. They taste just as good, I bet.
I bet. Might have to crunch them with your paw there to get the shells off, but I bet otherwise they're really, really good.
Oh, that's it. I have a very tricky tongue that I can get those grubs out of there, those snails. What are those? Hey, that's that salmon stuff food, I bet. Look at that writing on there. What is that?
I don't know. Wow. It doesn't say.
Yep. Funny writing.
It just says in some other language, I guess.
Where'd you get this stuff? Did it fall off of a boat, out of an airplane? Where'd you get stuff with funny writing like that?
No, silly. I went shopping before I went hunting. I went to the grocery store.
Oh, the grocery store. Well, I get all my stuff out of the woods.
I go grocery shopping.
Well,
I don't eat grubs off stumps.
Oh, I do. Boy, it tastes you that way. Well, do you know where Mother Merrick's cabin is?
Well, I got directions, but I think I might have gotten a little lost. Could you show me the way and we'll have lunch together?
Oh, as long as we're going to have lunch together? Yeah, sure, I'll be glad to show you the way. Come on, follow me.
Cool.
Straight up this way.
Alrighty then.
Get your gun and let's go. Just don't use that gun on me.
Well, since you talk, of course I'm not going to shoot you.
Good. Oh, I think we're going to have a good friendship here. Well, come on.
I think you're right.
Mother Merrick's right up over this way.
Alrighty.
We have some introductory remarks by our Governor, Howard Dean.
All I can say is ho, ho, ho. Thank you all very much for coming. I do want to say that this is a very special Christmas. Every special Christmas is a special Christmas, but in light of all the things that have happened to both the economy and particularly with the attacks on September 11th, it really is a very special Christmas, and we have an awful lot to give thanks for. Another thing that I want to talk about just briefly is that, of course, this is not just about Christmas. It's also about other faiths that have holidays at this time, particularly the Jewish faith and the Muslim faith. And I think one of the great strengths of this country, which isn't present in a lot of countries, is the fact that we are able to bring lots of different kinds of people together and build ourselves into one country for many kinds of people and many kinds of religions. That's the strength that we have. Frankly, that I think engenders some resentment in other places in the world, but it's what keeps this country strong and what keeps this country good. So it is a very special Christmas in which we have a great deal to be thankful for, and I have lots of people to thank for doing that. This tree in front of us is an extraordinary tree. I've been doing this this is my 11th year doing this. I think this is the biggest tree I've ever lit, and it's 27-foot blue spruce. This was planted by Janet Murray and her family in Bennington in 1978, and it was given to the state this year in memory of Ernest Murray. So if Janet Murray and her family would come up from Bennington, would come up and accept a certificate of appreciation. There's lots of family members. It's a very big family, right? We want them all up here. Okay, you guys ready for a big group shot? Nice and tight. Here we go. all set. They got what they need here. I hope you guys watch Channel 5. Very, very glad. You guys
It's a nice kind of summary winter's afternoon. Well, we're not quite winter, but we're December anyway. And we're in southern Vermont orchards right now. And we'll be looking toward the north and observing some mountains and talk about some soils and things. And we have Jennifer Kimberly, who's been with us before. The last time was up in Dorset Hollow, talking about landslides. So why don't you tell us, Jenny, just what your title is and what you do.
Okay, I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which used to be called the Soil Conservation Service. And I'm the district conservationist, which means I do the soil conservation work in Bennington County. I do everything from working with farmers on erosion control, manure management, nutrient management, water management. I work with landowners if they want a pond or if they have a pond problem or if they have an erosion problem. With landowners with erosion type things. I work with towns and planning commissions. We do soil maps and interpretation of the soils maps and the soils and what they're good for and what they're not good for, that type of thing.
You're using the term soil. Some people would call it dirt. Is there a difference?
Well, we say there's a difference. Soil is what supports life and plants and the worms and bugs in it, and it's a growth medium, and dirt's what's on your hands or under your fingernails.
Okay. And we're located, we've got a map here, a relief map, which kind of spans from Glens Falls clear over to the Connecticut River. And we're located today
down here somewhere,
just off the map, I guess. And we're kind of looking behind us right up the Route 7 corridor that goes up Arlington, Manchester, and then the west branch of the Battenkill coming up through Dorset and the Meadowee Valley. And it's quite noticeable that there's mountains both sides of that valley.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones on the west side, up through here, are known as the Taconic Mountain Range.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ones over here are the Green Mountain Range. Now, a lot of people think that a mountain is a mountain, but there's differences here, quite obvious here on the map even. What are the differences between the Green Mountains and the Taconic Mountains?
Well, you can see the Taconic Mountains are really pointy, and they have pretty nice valleys in the hollows. They're steep, and here's Mount Equinox. That's the highest point in the Taconic Range. You go up here, there's Danby Mountain and Dorset Mountain, and they're all pretty steep. And the Green Mountains, it's steep getting up to them, but then once you get up there, they're it's kind of flat and rolling, and there's probably, you can see there's a lot more. These blue lines and stuff are wet, and swamps and ponds. You find more of those than you would in the Taconics.
So, as far as age goes, is there a difference in age between mountains?
Well, the Taconics are supposedly younger than the Green Mountains. The age is based on the types of rocks that they're formed from. The Taconics have slate and limestone in them. You'll find the marble of Vermont in the Taconic Valley. You'll find marble, and here's the Dorset marble quarries, and it goes all the way up through. Here's Rutland, Proctor. This is the whole area where we find marble in Vermont, and that's marble is a crystallized limestone. Over in the Green Mountains, there's more of a granite and a schist type of rock underneath.
And almost following the marble, the limestone there is a band of slate just to the west of it.
And we find, even right where we are now, the limestone and the slates kind of mixed in together. You'll see slate and you'll see limestone, and some of the slate has a higher pH than other slates, but you find most of the slates up in Paulet and in Rutland County.
Well, from a forestry standpoint, what would be a preferable location for a tree to grow?
Well, if I were a tree, I'd want to grow where I had good food and some water, and the soils have more nutrients and more fertile where there's high lime in the limestone soils. There's a special type of woods called rich woods, and I don't know if you've done any programs on those where trees really grow well. They probably don't grow as well on these real steep sides of the mountains, but anywhere where there's a dip and the soils have accumulated, they'll grow really well.
Well, I know...
the crops grow well there, too.
Yeah, well, there's agricultural limestone, right, which is used to sweeten, to control the pH of the soil and to make it more suitable for certain crops. And I guess that's why the timber up and down through here in the Taconics, Jim White calls it an enriched site. In general, there are exceptions in it. And I think there's some studies going on at Merck Forest and also on Equinox. The Nature Conservancy, I think, has some land that they purchased there that they plan to do some studies on and things like that.
And there's indicators as to, if you look at the woods and there's a maple tree growing in the Taconic Mountains and there's a maple tree growing in the Green Mountains, and you'd say, well, what's the difference? This tree is growing in both places, but there's indicator plants in the woods in the lower part, in the understory, that would say this is a rich soil, and those are things like special wildflowers, trilliums and hepaticas and spring beauties and things like that you'll find in these woods, but you won't find over in the Green Mountains.
And in the Taconic Range, there are also some physical features which are kind of unique that go back to the composition of the rock that's underneath. And tell us about some of those.
You'll find a lot of the caves in the Taconic Mountains in the limestone, just like there's caves in the Shenandoah Mountains. The limestone water runs through it easily, it erodes it easily, and it makes channels underneath, and those are what forms the caves. And then if water finds a way down through the soil and finds its way down through into a cave, it erodes that channel that it found, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually you can get what we call a sinkhole. And there's a whole line of sinkholes along the ridge here, and there's you've heard of Everett's Cave, which is near Southern Vermont College. That's, if you look out towards the monument, it's way towards a point there, and all along the ridge to the west of where we're standing, at a certain elevation, there's sinkholes, and you won't see big ones. They're just, say 20 feet, 10 feet around, and they're maybe 5 feet down. It's kind of a place where all of a sudden it looks like there's a hole in the ground, and it's filled in with leaves, and trees are growing there, and sometimes you'll see a tree just sunk right down. Sometimes a tree will have a curvature to it because it started growing back up again.
Well, I've seen some sinkholes on Equinox toward Beartown Notch that are probably 150 foot in diameter and maybe 60 or 80 foot deep, and it's just a perfect funnel shape right in the side of the mountain.
And that's where water goes back in. When it rains and you get runoff, the water, what we call groundwater recharge, it goes back in there. And right now we all hope it would rain to recharge our springs and our wells, and that's where the water goes in and it comes back out in a spring somewhere.
And in general, soils would be less fertile on top of a mountain than they would be down in the valley. So I guess that's probably one reason why agriculture's in the valleys.
Yeah, well, the tops of mountains and the sides of mountains are pretty steep, and the soils on the mountains would, just by gravity, tend to sort of fall down into the valleys, and also any erosion that it has caused, that has happened, will deposit soils in the valley. The glacier probably did the biggest job of that. Glacier carved off a mountain and deposited it in the valleys. The rivers have made the other soils that are right in the valley next to the river. Those are floodplain soils.
Well, let's get rid of this map here, and I think you have some maps too, which are called soils maps, appropriately.
We use the Soil Conservation Service, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, uses aerial photos to make soils maps. And this is a map of the Meadowy Valley up in Rupert. And on this map, there's all sorts of lines, and it's done on a photo taken from an airplane.
And this photo was taken in
May 9/62.
62.
Yeah. And the writing is on the top, and on most photos, that's north. So we're looking north, and this is the Rutland-Bennington County town line. This is the Meadowy River going down through here. It's probably easier to see down here. There's a line, quite a big area here, and inside that line there's a number and a letter, 71A, and then over here we have a 42E and a 47E. These are all different soil types, and
the number is the type of the soil, and the letter is the
slope phase.
Slope of the
with
ground.
A being the flattest and E being the steepest. A is from 0 to 3% slope, and E is over 25% slope. So someone has gone out here, soil scientist has gone out with a shovel and an auger and pH kits, and his fingers, he can tell what the texture is of the soil. He looks at the drainage, and then draws these lines on the map as to all the different soil types that are there. And we have, along here, we have floodplain soils, and here's a wetland soil. These little pickaxes here are a gravel pit. We put features on the map too.
And these, this information is useful for farmers and wood landowners, and it's also the general public and used in the development tool as to trying to preserve good soils, good farmland, and kind of a land use type map.
Once we have all of the soils inventoried, then we have interpretations for these soils, what the drainage is, what the texture is, what the pH is, what the depth. Is it a deep soil? Is it a ledgy soil? And then we can interpret the uses. Is it good for a septic system, or isn't it good for a septic system? What about a building with a basement? Right where we're standing now, there's about 1 inch of soil and then rock, so that wouldn't be a very good place for a basement. We have interpretations for woodland uses, what kind of trees it'll grow, what kind of crops it'll grow, whether it's good for gravel. All of those things can get that information from these maps.
Well, can we randomly pick a number and a slope here on your, I guess it's
I
your
don't have the book with me.
interpretation book? Oh, okay.
So
But
it's
you
all
must
in my
you
head.
must know some by heart.
Yeah.
As to what type of
I can show you
crops and trees would support.
Here's a the soil 3A. That's called Copaque gravelly fine sandy loam, and the gravelly fine sandy loam is the texture of the soil. It's a fine sandy loam with a few gravels in it. It's well drained soil. It is different from another gravelly type of soil where it has more silts and stuff on the top. So this is a really good soil for growing crops. And soils kind of come in, as far as the landscape goes, they're related to each other. So related to this Copaque is number 71, which is Hero, and that soil is a moderately well-drained gravelly soil. So as you go maybe down in the landscape towards a wetter area, you're going to have the same soil type, it's going to have the same texture and stuff, but its drainage is different, so that's going to affect some of its properties.
How the equipment can work for
and actually this soil is a moderately well-drained soil, and so the only time it's a real problem is just in the spring or in the late fall. The rest of the time it's pretty good, and with a gravelly soil it might be even better because you have a little bit extra moisture in it. And then you get up here on the mountains, and these are all shallow soils and steep. Here's 43E, and there's a big chunk of that. It comes up the mountain and back down the other side to Route 315 that goes over Rupert Mountain.
Well, it's very obvious that this is one of the nicest section of farms in Bennington County coming up through here, and why not? That's what it's suited for. It's got the good soils. Well, how does the forestry in the area there, though, is also they're pretty productive forests too, and that must go back to the enriched site,
yeah,
limestone. And
the gravels came from somewhere. The Great Glacier ground up the bedrock, and the water, the meltwater from the glacier deposited the gravels, and it had to ground up what's right in that area. And so these rocks, the bedrock, have some fertility in them. These soils up here, some of them in here are even actually a deep soil. You get up on the ridges and they're ledgy. They do have good fertility in them. They have good pH. They have a little bit of silt, so it holds some moisture, but they're not real wet.
well, do you want to tell us just how the Taconic Mountains came about?
Well, I had to do some research, and I figured I better read it to you so that I didn't get it wrong. This is a really good book called A Guide to New England's Landscape by Neil Jorgensen, and there's a chapter in here on the Taconics, and it's kind of hard to believe, but the Taconics actually fell off of the Green Mountains, and it says that the Taconic Mountains seem intimately related to the Green Mountains, but for years the question of how they were formed was one of the great geologic mysteries of New England. Although the matter has not been definitely settled, the present consensus among geologists is that the Taconic Mountains literally slid off the top of the Green Mountains. Crustal folding became so intense along the Green Mountains that the whole top of the fold, of which the present-day Taconics are probably only a small remaining part, actually broke off the mountain mass and slid westward a distance of 10 or 15 miles to where they are now.
It's a little of that horizontal gravity.
Yeah, so there was probably a big earthquake, and before this, they call it a thrust fault. Before this earthquake came along, the Taconics were on top of the Green Mountains, and this is a picture in Lake Champlain. It's called the Lone Rock Point Thrust Fault, and you can see the lighter colored limestones in that fault right here. And this is what the Green Mountains are like, and this is what the Taconic Mountains are like. And there was a big earthquake, and the Taconics fell off. And they're not flat.
You don't remember when that happened? I don't either.
Do you?
Jim might.
Jim might.
Jim
Oh,
might.
I'm sure he does. But, it was a couple of years before my time.
Yep.
And a couple great-grandfathers ago said that there's a little bit of a tilt in the mountains, and that the slates are on one side and the limestones are on the other. They're not like completely flat. They're tilted a little bit, so the limestone's on this side and the slate's over there, and that may be why you get more water flowing this way than the other way.
That's what I've noticed from growing up on Nichols Hill in Dorset, and through the pastures up there. Maybe as little as 200-300 feet apart in times there'd be springs, and there were loads of springs. But on the Rupert side of the mountain there didn't seem to be that many springs. No. And I always thought that the slope of the way the rock was deposited there kind of led the water from the west and
the
east
springs,
direction.
And this side, the springs are coming this way. That's limestone, and on that side it's more slate and shaly type of soils, and so they're just all different.
And there's some springs I've heard old-timers talk about dumping dye into a brook where in the summer it would go underground places and it would come out a mile or two away in someone's spring. And they've traced it that way. If
your spring is dry this year and then it comes back, you can figure that you have new water in it, that it recharged into the ground really recently after the rains. Some springs just run and run and run and run, and it doesn't seem like they really change very much, and they don't change as much with the weather conditions and droughts. And I was talking to a guy up in Beartown that had his spring tested, and they said that it was really old because it didn't have hydrocarbons in it, or from acid precipitation, and we've started burning oils. I guess that if you do find enough testing, you can detect whether there's hydrocarbons and residual things from that. And it's just interesting to know that you could see how old water was.
That would be from a natural spring, or would
a natural spring, yeah.
But not from a
the water's just been the water's been in the. Well, I suppose you could tell from the well too, but the water's been in the ground for a long time, and not just water that it rained on the top of the mountain and went down into the to the rocks and then came back out somewhere else.
But in general, is our water worse than it used to be? I mean, as far as contaminants and things, or is that kind of a
I think
a
our
myth
water's,
around
I don't know, but I think our water's still okay. On the surface water and the shallower water, you'd have to be more careful of if there's
Well, there was always a problem with surface water
Mhm.
to some extent.
Yeah.
And people, whether they built up an immunity to it from using it, which a lot of people in third world countries can live under certain conditions that someone from outside goes can't adapt to it. The same as drinking raw milk. I mean,
yeah.
as a kid on the farm, you drink raw milk. Now today, nobody thinks of drinking raw milk because all kinds of things can happen. But it's because you don't have these little immunities and stuff built up, I guess.
And there's back then there might not have been as much concentration of people and cars and runoff and roads and all that other stuff. And I heard a story about an aquifer being polluted from dry cleaning fluid, and once something like that gets in the water, then you can't do anything about it because it just spreads so fast. And that's what you got to be careful of.